on.
You'll not escape.
You will not escape, apparently.
Okay.
5 minutes.
Thank you. I declare this meeting of Glamorgan Spring Bay Council held on Tuesday, the 28th of May, 2024 at 2 p.m.
The Glamorgan Spring Bay Council acknowledges the traditional owners of our region and recognises their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging and members of the community within our area.
Thank you. Welcome to this meeting. We have all councillors present in the chamber. There are no apologies or leave of absence at 1.2. In attendance today, we have the General Manager, Mr. Greg Ingham, Peter Porch, the Director of Works and Infrastructure, Ms. Elise Blaine, the Director of Corporate and Community, Mr. James Bonner, Acting Director, Planning and Development, and Mrs. Jasmine Kerr, the Executive Officer. Agenda item 1.4 is late reports. General Manager, do we have any late reports?
No late reports, Madam Mayor.
Agenda item 1.5, declaration of conflict of interest. As Chair and Mayor, I now request elected members to indicate whether they have any interest personally or via a close associate as defined in section 49 of the Local Government Act 1993, or 2, any conflict as described in Council's Code of Conduct for councillors in any item included in the agenda. Conflicts? Thank you. Agenda item 2 is the confirmation of minutes. 2.1 is the ordinary meeting of council held on the 23rd of April. There is a recommendation on page 6.
Thank you. I'll move that the minutes of the ordinary meeting of council held on the 23rd of April 2024 at 2 p.m. be confirmed as a true record.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor McQueenie, the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Unanimously. Thank you. Item 2.2 is the date and purpose of workshops held. There is a recommendation on page 9. 3 workshops. Councillor McQueenie, thank you.
I move that council notes the information.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Gregson, put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Unanimously. And item 3 is public question time. 3.1, there are some questions on notice in the agenda and responses from the General Manager. General Manager, do you wish to add anything further to those questions on notice?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. No, I think not really. They sort of read as stated in there. I can brief the councillors at some point on the, by way of an update on the loo with a view at Swansea. Happy to do that.
Thank you. Agenda item 3.2 is questions without notice. I am making an assumption we have none. Thank you. Agenda item 4 is the Planning Authority section. There are nil reports in that section for this particular meeting. Agenda item 5 is the financial reports for April 2024. It is a report, page 4. Recommendation, rather. Yes, thank you.
Yes, I'll move that council receives and notes the financial reports as attached to this report, period ending April 20.
Is there a seconder? Very good. Any questions or comments? Councillor McQueenie?
Just one, I was looking at the, I'm just looking for the number, it's probably easier to refer to note number 4. So this relates to the line item. In other revenue. It talks about lower than budgeted amount for the medical income. So through you, Mayor, to the General Manager. In what way does that relate to the transfer to the new provider, that contract, or does it relate to debtors that exist prior to transfer? I just didn't quite understand.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Councillor, it relates to both. I'll stand corrected, but it relates to both. More so to the actual transfer to the not-for-profit organisation from council. But Director Lane may be able to want to comment on that, if you will. Lee?
Ms. Blake?
Sure. So the revenue transfer is shown that this is the Medicare transactions that normally come through the clinic. So we still receive the Medicare levy that we charge, and that is going to be used to pay for the services that we have for the third party. But the medical charges, the Medicare charges that deal with the patients, as they come into their services, the revenue now goes straight to the third party, so we no longer receive the Medicare charges, and that's where that line item comes. So that's the reduction in the Medicare services fee that come from contractors who are working the doctors. So that's now going to the third party. That's why it's a change against our budget. Budget assumed we were having that for the whole.
Your comments? Councillor Gregson? Councillor Gregson, could you please direct the question here to the front of the table, please? Yes.
To place my question. When you say it's a bit awkward because I've got a camera on this side behind me, so I'm talking to
Don't know which way to go.
Yes,
Yeah, we can. Sorry, Councillor. With the mayor's approval, we can have the directors located there. It makes it easy. We did try that one meeting. Do you want to go? Do you mind sitting up?
I think it would be better because they have safety councillors turning around.
Yeah, that should be better.
Thank you, Ms. Blaine.
I just want to address people. When you say third party, Ms. Blaine, what do you mean by third party? Is that the contractor, or who is the third party that you're referring to with regards to this question?
And Mayor, would you like me to so that is CoHealth, who has been appointed through the tender process to take over the operations of the clinic for their.
And what are they doing with their Medicare levies? Are they taking those instead of the council?
That's right.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Any questions or comments on the finance?
Through you, Madam Mayor, just a question to our Director of Finance, Ms. Bain. It's an accounting question really, I suppose, but with our employee costs, we had a budget of around $5.7 million for the year pretty much just gone. We've spent 13% less. What actually happens to the excess that we've allowed for? Is that, does that just become a cash amount or?
So unless, through you, Madam Mayor, unless it is allocated to other opportunistic items that come along which should have been done or could have been done with the permission of the General Manager, yes, that's right. It would just not be spent.
Yeah.
There is opportunity to do those activities that we couldn't have afforded otherwise.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Councillor Young?
Madam Mayor, a question to our Corporate Director, Mrs. Blaine, through you. The profit and loss in dealing with the variance is the variance on last year for the full year, and the income and expenditure we're considering at the moment is for a shorter period. Is that correct?
Mayor, the reports are for the 10 months up to the end of April,
That includes last year as well as this.
financial year. So from July 1 through to end of April.
That's, perhaps I haven't asked the question properly. It's 10 months for last year, for this year, and it's full year for the comparing year, the prior year.
I think through you, Madam Mayor, I think I understand where
Perhaps you could put it better
Councillor
than
Young is
me,
coming from.
Mr.
So,
Chairman.
so the variance that is reported in that financial report, the profit and loss, is a variance against what was forecast at the beginning of the financial year. So various line items we formed a budget and we had a forecast. Then that report there that you're looking at tracks that each and every month over the year, either up or down or bang on like we like to be, is what you see there by way of variance. The budgets are also informed at the beginning of each financial year, like the process we're going through now, particularly in the operational side of things. They also informed by the previous year's budget. So sometimes we can make an easy decision, if you like, to say, okay, well, last year we were bang on budget with this particular activity. We're just going to, next year's budget is going to be that amount again plus CPI.
So if I understand the answer, it's the variance on the forecast 10 months compared to the actual 10 months of the 1 year.
Correct.
Thank you.
Ms. Blaine, is that, sorry, I don't want to contradict the General Manager, but you were shaking your head and
So
I'm
it's
not
not-
sure.
Forecast is a slightly different term. Forecast normally refers to a projection that we don't know yet. The budget that was set this time last year, the 23-24 financial year, is the measuring stick we use to compare our performance for the 10 months to date. So it's referring to the same period, July through to June, through to 24.
But we hadn't had.
Councillor Young, could I suggest perhaps you have a conversation with Ms. Blaine out of session, just to clarify your questions? Would that?
I'll do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Fine.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments in relation to finances? Motion, of those in favour? Those against? Carried unanimously. There are no Section 24 committee reports at agenda item 6. Information reports 7.1, the Director of Works and Infrastructure is at, their recommendation is at page 20. Councillor Edwards?
The council notes the information.
Seconder. Councillor Churchill, are there any questions or comments for Mr. Porcher's report? Mr. Porcher's usual extensive report. Any no questions or comments?
See the amount of road gravel was heading out this morning on the job.
There's nothing further on Mr. Porcher's report. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. There is a information report from the Director of Planning and Development, Mr. Woodward. There is a recommendation at page 23. I note Mr. Woodward is currently on annual leave and Mr. Bonner is acting in that role if we have any questions. I have Councillor Young.
That council receive and note the report on the activities of the Planning and Development Directorate.
I have a seconder. Gregson, thank you. Are there any questions? The Woods, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you to Mr. Bonner, you may be able to answer this question, but on page 22, Under natural resource management, officers at the last paragraph, officers are currently working on engaging a consultant to review the weed management plan for the municipality. It is envisaged that this will be completed at the end of the calendar year. My question is with regards to gorse, is it gorse bush? Yes, gorse.
Yeah.
And the bush itself, it's a major problem in our community. And I've asked this question before, and I dare say you probably take it on notice. But is that going to be part of the weed management plan for the municipality? Because it's tremendous.
Mr. Bonner?
On notice, do you have? Alex, perfect.
Lovely. Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Nothing further on the Director of Planning and Development's report? Put the motion, all those in favour? It's against. Item 7.3 is a report from the General Manager of Government's Governance Information Report, on page 25. Woods?
Yeah, I'll move that council notes the information.
Here is there a seconder? Deputy Mayor, thank you. Questions or comments? Mr. McLean?
Thanks, Mayor. Through yourself to the General Manager. Just pleasing to note that there will be further in-house sessions and later this year. I'm just wondering what the process for deciding what the focus of those sessions will be. If that's been made or how we might be involved in shaping what might be.
Yeah, I think through you, Madam Mayor, I'll certainly take I will be continuing to take the opportunity for governance-related sessions that become available during the course of the year. There's a variety of training module sessions that do become available. A lot of it's done online, as you're aware, and I will continue to encourage the councillors to complete that online training. I do intend to get people like the Integrity Commission up here again for a training session. I thought the last two that we've done here were very valuable. Code of conduct will probably be a refresher again. And that's just good business practice to do that. Again, both in-house and online. So, and I'm about to also just circulate to you with the Mayor's endorsement a presentation that was done to the Legat General Managers Workshop just recently. It was a presentation from Mike Mogridge, DPAC, around local government governance. And there's some really good information in there that we are going to workshop with you on the 11th of June.
So if councillors have thoughts on the in-house sessions,
yep,
we should have those discussions with you.
Absolutely.
Questions or comments?
Just
Mr. Gregson, thank you.
I'd just like to put my question to the General Manager. You mentioned the Integrity Commission and they've addressed council previously, which I wasn't here. But was the next session by the Integrity Commission, would that be conducted by Greg Millett?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I can't say who would be conducting the session, but we've had the two sessions that we've had here have been two different facilitators. Now I can't comment on who they would send up. Generally, it's two people. They support each other, and it's a very interactive session.
So possibly might be the Commissioner.
Not the Commissioner himself. No.
Councillor Gregson, the General Manager has answered your question, but the Integrity Commission provide facilitators for us. It doesn't necessarily mean that it is the Commissioner. Are there any other questions? Other comments? All those in favour? Those against? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Agenda item 8 is the officers' reports requiring a decision. 8.1 is the 2024-25 fees and charges. There is a recommendation on page 27. Deputy Mayor?
I'll move that council receive and adopt the fees and charges register in attachment 1 this report for the 2024-2025 financial year.
Is there a seconder? Seconder? Councillor McLeany? Deputy Mayor, do you wish to speak for the motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Other than I'll just say that they're very modest increases in CPI. Should see.
Councillor McLeany, do you wish to comment?
No, I was going to make the same point.
Any other questions or comments? Councillor Gregson?
With the cemetery fees through there, it's got plot resignation certificates, life burial for 25 years. Could that be expanded, please?
Councillor Gregson, if I could make the comment. Yes, General Manager can do that.
Well, through you, Madam Mayor, I would suggest any discussion around that we can have at another forum. But I just had a quick glance across at the Director of Works and he wanted to make a comment.
Mr. Porch, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but we did discuss this in the workshops when we talked about the fees and charges, didn't we?
Yes.
Thank you. Do you have any further that you can add to Councillor Gregson's question?
It would just be to clarify the Act is a term. Practical management.
Practical. Just through the mayor, when you say practical, does that mean 25 years that you can have a plot for and then if it's not used, it's relinquished? Oh, okay. There is an option for renewal. Thank you. And can I have a second question through the mayor? Cash and Mills car parking. I'll address this to. Says here, per policy equals cost of land plus construction cost by 0.5. The cash
What page is that? Councillor?
13. And it's just cash and lieu of car parking.
Councillor Gregson, can I suggest that the fees and charges were discussed in a workshop quite significantly. The cash in lieu for car parking does, Mr. Port, correct me if I'm wrong, or Mr. Bonner, this is under the planning scheme that we have this cash in lieu requirement for parking in DAs. General Manager, Mr. Porch or Mr. Bonner?
Correct, Madam Mayor.
Yeah. That's correct. Right. So, Councillor Gregson, the response to your question is that it is a matter that probably needs to be that you probably need to, with great respect, have some lessons around what those items mean.
Yeah, so, thank you. But it's a cash and lieu. I know it's the Act, etc., but it's rather controversial as well. If you know what I mean, it seems to have parking spaces.
Councillor Gregson, I'm going to stop you there because this session is not the session to debate that.
No, I'm just saying, just pointing out that as a comment.
Are there any other questions or comments? Mr. Bonner, did you wish to make a comment?
Yeah, just I can add a little bit. Council has a car parking contribution policy. So this fee puts into practice details in accordance with the policy, how we would calculate the car parking.
Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that, Mr. Bonner. I appreciate it. Are there any other questions or comments? The motion. All those in favour? Those against? Thank you. The motion is carried unanimously. Under item 8.2 is the 2024 community survey outcome. There is a recommendation on page 32. Deputy Mayor?
I'll move that council acknowledges the high level of public participation in the range of consultation mechanisms adopted and receives and notes the report on community consultation. Council will use the information to inform budget priorities for its 2024 its communication methodology and opportunities for improvement in service delivery.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Is there a seconder? The Churchill, Deputy Mayor, do you wish to comment?
Only just to thank the officers for doing such a great job on it. Thank all the people that participated in it. That's us, mate.
Councillor Churchill?
Just by way of comment, it's nice to note that the community satisfaction is improving a little, and at the same time the dissatisfaction is reducing a little. So I think our staff are undertaking their job well, and hopefully we're supporting that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Churchill. Councillor Ripley?
I just like to say, don't tempt fate.
Can I say that it was pleasing to have at the pop-up sessions that we had in our Community Connect sessions. It was pleasing, the comments that we received that were very favourable. It hasn't happened in previous community. So I think, as you rightfully identified, Councillor Churchill, we appear to be doing something right at the moment.
Yeah, thinking about, just think a little more tweaking with a couple of them, a couple of the areas. So you get it going next year, I think. It was a success this year.
Thank you. Is there any other comments in relation to the community survey? Councillor Gregson?
I hate to put it down on goodwill, but according to the statistics, only 4.75% of the constituents of the municipality participated in the survey. Is it really an indicative count? Are we taking into account 4.75% of the community?
The General Manager can answer that, Councillor Gregson.
Through you, Madam Mayor. So last year, the same survey, we had up around 9% participation. That is a very high level of participation in any sort of community survey in local government or any other level, extremely high. That represents, a large proportion of our population, and it was mostly resident population, so not necessarily tourists. This year, there was a slight difference in that we had, and on reflection, I don't know whether it was a good or a bad thing, but we had another survey running in the similar time period, and that was the public toilet strategy survey that you were aware of. There has been a lower participation rate at 4.7%, as you correctly point out. That is still significantly high. Our 1 or 2% participation would be robust data for us to work with. So, no, I'm very pleased with the result. It may have been impacted by the other survey that was being done, and again, the public toilet strategy, we had significantly high, as you already know, participation with that as well. So it's great, and as the Mayor said, it's great to see the public seemingly more engaged and more wanting to engage with council than they probably have been in the past. It's a good thing. So 4.7% is high.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments on the community survey? Motion, all those in favour? Against? Agenda item 8.3 is the nomination of councillor to Tasmania Owners Representative Group. There is a recommendation on page 34. Woods.
Council, I recommend the council appoints Mayor Cheryl Arnold to Tasmania Owners Representative Group effective 28th of May 2024.
Point of order. Madam Mayor, conflict of interest. You're voting on whether you ought to be there or not.
No.
I think you should. That's right. You can record my point of order.
I don't believe that as a council representative, as the mayor, and defined in the Tasmania Constitution, that it is generally the mayor that is the representative, that I do have a conflict of interest. I'm sorry.
Well, it's your ruling. I have a different view. It doesn't mean to say I'd vote against you, but you shouldn't be here when the decision's being made.
I'm sorry, I don't agree with you. So do I have a seconder? Deputy Mayor, thank you. Do you wish to speak to the motion, Councillor Edwards?
Yes, I will. As you correctly said, Mayor, the vast majority of the other representatives are the Mayor, because they have a broader understanding of what's going on. And as you know, we've had a few things I've had to deal with family-wise with illnesses. So I just don't have the time to do it justice. So that's why
And if I could make the point too that the Act requires the Mayor to be the representative on regional and state and regional committees. There's no further comment. Sorry. Yes. Councillor McQueenie?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. I'm just wondering, excuse me, is it possible, we've all got such keen interest in Taswater and what's happening in its plans for our future. Is it possible for these sort of groups to, whether it's the minutes or whatever, to have them circulated? I don't mean formally an agenda, so that we can remain across how they're working with the different councils?
As we receive them, yes.
Yeah.
But there is only 3 meetings a year, I think, or 4 meetings a year.
Yeah.
I haven't seen minutes from the last meeting, which was a couple of months ago.
I do, through you, Madam Mayor, I do circulate that information when I get it. Like the Mayor said, it is a bit few and far between. Certainly if there's something that is particularly important or interesting that comes across my desk, like a change to our dividends, or a major change to our dividend or anything like that, then you would certainly know about it.
And council will certainly receive any communication around the meetings, because we are the owners of the organisation. Councillor Gregson?
Yes, just through the Mayor, I'd like to direct the question to the Mayor. Who's to be the deputy representation if the Mayor is unable to attend? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you were the deputy representative councillor. Edwards was unable to attend. Who is to be your deputy if you cannot attend, please?
I'd be perfectly honest, Councillor Gregson, and say it's not something we considered at the time when Councillor Edwards suggested that he would like to stand down. In normal circumstances, it would probably be the Deputy Mayor. Taswater has some quite strict requirements around who acts in the place of the elected representative. We can send a substitute delegate from another council if we wish, and we can have the chief owner's representative represent our council.
Would that, if the deputy, if you're unable to attend, that be subject to the a vote by this council?
It would probably be the Deputy Mayor in normal circumstances, because of the role that the Deputy Mayor plays. Yeah. But I think we can do it. Happy with that?
Yes.
Thank you. Well, no further questions or comments? Motion, all those in favour?
In spite of my point of order, I'm on for.
Thank you, Councillor Young. I appreciate your support and confidence. The motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. 8.4 is a review of the councillor allowances and expenses policy. There is a recommendation on page 36. Deputy Mayor.
I'll move that council adopt the councillor expenses and allowances policy attached to this report.
Second, Councillor Churchill. Thank you. Deputy Mayor, do you wish to speak to it? Councillor Churchill, do you wish to speak to it? Councillor McQueenie?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Just the policy is quite rightly detailed in terms of what's available to councillors, a laptop, tablet, etc., quite specifically, which doesn't actually allow for circumstances where there needs to be reasonable adjustment where there's disability.
Where there has to be what?
Reasonable adjustment where somebody might come to this role with a disability that requires special software or different sorts of circumstances than the very specific nature. So whether that's dealt with in the beginning that states obviously adjustment would happen to meet particular needs of a councillor, or whether it's dealt with specifically in each area, I would say I'm uncomfortable with it as it currently stands unless there's that addition. It makes it clear to people reading this that they will be able to operate too in discussion with council about what's available to them.
Just a comment on that?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I think it's we can add wording that makes that implicit in the policy. I think it can be taken as a given that we as an organisation have an obligation to ensure, whether it's staff or whether it's elected members coming into a role are able to perform their duty, no matter their level of ability. So I'm happy to add words to that effect.
Lovely, and that's what I assumed that was how we would behave. I just think some inclusive language is great.
Councillor McQueenie, it's probably worth noting that the policy is really only taken from the legislation. It's just shoring up the information in the legislation. So, you know, in taking your point, the legislation may be deficient in that area, which maybe needs to be looked at in future. But I do know of other councils that have had people that have required special facilities, and they've been accommodated under the normal policy that we have. It's important to have people be able to do. So, General Manager, am I taking it that you are going to add some words to this? So, do we actually accept this policy as it is, or do we?
I think, Madam Mayor, it's best to accept the policy as it is, and I can retrospectively add the words. But I can assure you, even without the words, the council would have to fulfil its duties to ensure that someone can work, no matter who they are and what ability they have.
And the others, bear with me a sec, Councillor. The other side of it too, Councillor McQueenie, is that we can review these policies at any given time. They're always reviewed at the beginning of an election cycle, but we can also review them at any time. So you're for that. Councillor Young.
Madam Mayor, as I understand it, this policy, like all other policies that this council adopts, binds the council and binds each and every council. So that it almost has force of law. It's even more strong, even stronger than a contract. I look at the Schedule 5 in the provisions for Local Government Act, which says council on or before particular date is to adopt a policy in respect of payment of expenses incurred by council in carrying out the duties of office. And council, this is subparagraph 2, a councillor is entitled to be reimbursed for reasonable expenses in accord with the policy adopted and in relation to any prescribed expenses and any other expenses the council deems appropriate. So that sets the minimum standard. And I've got some concerns about the policy. And they are that in the old policy, which is not attached to any addendum, so we can't see what the variation this proposed policy is on the old policy. In the old policy, there was insurance and other indemnity offered by council under its policy for elected members, personal accident and injury insurance. Well, that is in the new policy. Directors and officers insurance, that is not in the new policy. Fidelity guarantee insurance, that is not in the new policy. And workers' compensation insurance. Now, so my concern is that most of the councillors here spend a lot of time doing things. And at the moment, there's been no major trouble that I've been aware of. I've only known of one case where a person was hit on the head by a backhoe shovel during carrying out of council work. But these councillors, they don't only just have these meetings, they go and visit things. They visit roads that have collapsed. There's landslips, they visit roads underwater, they visit failed bridges, and they even travel on potholed roads. But we don't have any indemnity, and I've looked at the policies that council have, any indemnity that protects the councillors if they suffered any form of injury or accident whilst carrying out their duties as councillors. The policies we have got are extremely limited in their cover, and here we are under this proposed new policy taking away many of the rights that councillors had to be protected. I don't think that should be done. The other thing I have to say about the matter is that the travel expense claims and the method of calculation adopts the Australian taxation basis from time to time, which is a reasonable basis. It's an independent one, and it governs the whole community in the payment of their income taxes and claiming deductions for travel and that sort of thing. They're quite reasonable. But what they do is put a cap on some of those expenses, because if you come to council and you call in and get your groceries, under our new policy, you can't travel or you can't claim travel costs, because it's not solely for the purpose of many of us come a long way to get here. I don't come as far as some, but it takes me about 30 to 40 minutes to get here, depending on the car that I drive. But people like the Deputy Mayor travel down from the very far north of the municipality. It takes him a bit longer. And sometimes it's convenient to do things on the way through, but you wouldn't call in to collect your groceries on a special trip. You wouldn't do them, or you get someone else to do it, or you get two lots. But if we do two things at once, we can't make the claim. And that's against the provision of the Act, because it's an expense that does relate to this council operation. And there are many acknowledged rules. If you ever looked at the tax officers, court cases and boards of review that deal with these sorts of things. And the other thing, there is a provision which does affect me a bit, and it's not major, but it is important. I live in an area where you can't get the phone all the time. You can't ring up, and sometimes you can't ring up or receive a call at all for hours, because the landline doesn't work much of the time. It's got a hum that you can't even hear people at the other end. I'm on the edge of the phone towers, and we've got two mobile phones at home, and sometimes I had to ring the provider today to try and fix some of the connections. You ring and the phone drops out, as it did this morning. So that I have four methods of communication. Sometimes they're all off the air at once. I think it's a question of what's a reasonable amount for the paying for the costs of internet connection and paying for the cost of phones. And some people that live right next door or come past every day don't have to use a phone or a laptop to get their information from council. So I think it's too limiting, this policy. I would prefer to see last year's policy still remain. So I'll be voting against this motion.
Questions or comments? Councillor Gregson?
Through the Mayor, with regard to Councillor Dunn's comments, could it possibly be some of these very pertinent comments be incorporated into the new policy, not necessarily the old one, but some of the more pertinent points like insurance, especially incorporated into this new policy?
Manager, do you comment?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Our insurers are a provider that covers virtually everyone in Tasmania. I think it's 90% of the government, Tasmania and Victoria. And our policy is framed around what is considered best practice in local government. This review revised policy actually is more beneficial in my view, and I hope you recognise it to the councillors. We had that discussion at the April workshop about those changes, and I hope that you all saw that there was actually a more of a benefit to you as elected members, certainly from an allowance and remuneration perspective. In terms of insurance, the cover for you as elected members in your role doesn't differ anywhere to anyone else in any other local government organisation. Now, I'm not saying that that doesn't recognise what Councillor Young has raised, but you are covered for certain things if you're conducting council business. It's clear in the policy, and it's the same with anyone. It's very reasonable to say that, if you're not conducting council business, then there wouldn't be that cover. I have in the past, over several months actually, and I've got it all here in front of me, corresponded with Councillor Young around this insurance specifically and the policy, and I'm happy to send all that correspondence to, and in fact, I think I did copy the councillors into most of it anyway, but I'm happy to resend that all because I think it explains very well our provider's point of view, the legal point of view, and also the basis by which our policy is framed. I'm happy to do that for you if you wish. Just in regards to Councillor Young's comment about the insurance, conducting business, I'm reading straight from some of the correspondence. On behalf of council and or acting in their capacity as a councillor, council are the decision makers in what they deem as conducting business on behalf of council and or in the capacity of as a councillor. So there is some discretion there, but obviously if you're out on a deep sea fishing trip and got injured, there would be a very clear demarcation. Councillors and officers. The policy protects councillors when acting in their capacity on behalf of council for defence specifically against claims from wrongful acts committed in your official capacity. So that can be a claim from anyone, a member of the public, an entity, a company, a colleague, anyone. And then there's a whole lot of detail here from our service provider around what that constitutes. So I'm happy to send that on to you. It covers personal accidents, it covers motor vehicles. But it's okay.
Just through there, who is the service provider? Who provides
JLT.
Insurance broking. Okay. And who are that? Who represents? What's their insurance? They're representing an insurance company. So which insurance company?
Councillor Gregson, that's not a question for the general manager in this forum. That is an operational matter, and the council staff, the director of corporate and community, goes to great lengths to get us the very best insurance company and very best insurance policies.
Point of order, Madam Mayor. It is a matter for councillors, because under the policy, you don't claim against the council, you claim direct under the insurance contract. I think it's section 48. And I don't dispute the general manager's done a lot of work relating to this. When you read council business and the definition of it, it's extremely narrow.
Councillor Young, I take your point of order, I accept that, and at the end of the day, who the insurer is may change from year to year because of the work that Ms Blaine does in getting us the very best policies that you can. So I'm not sure, I can't see the relevance of Councillor Gregson's question at the moment. If he was to have a claim, then that information would be provided.
By whom?
By Councillor Starr.
They don't know the information. I'd spent 2 years trying to even look at the council policy. I did. And I was very concerned about the limitation because the definition of council business is extremely narrow. And that's why I'm happy with last year's expenses arrangement, but not the one that deletes the insurance company.
Just
Ms Blaine, would you like to make any comment around the insurance? I know you've done an enormous amount of work on this particular aspect of the policy. Do you wish to make any comment or hold it for out of session? Or?
Perhaps through you, Madam Mayor, the only observation to add to this is that the only insurance items that were removed from the previous policy are ones that didn't apply. So workers' compensation insurance doesn't apply to councillors, so we took that out. And the councillor and officer's liability insurance is just a name change from the previous cover that was there, so it still exists. There's still personal accident cover and travel cover. So there's nothing there that wasn't there before that actually did apply. So there's nothing that's been taken away.
A new updated name.
That's correct.
I'm sorry to say it, Madam Mayor, but I don't think council's obligation was under this policy.
Councillor Gregson, Councillor Young, I'm sorry, I won't have you make that statement in public meeting. I would ask you to apologise to Ms. Blaine.
No, I won't, Madam Mayor, because it is a question of construction of the policy, and it's extremely difficult. And it's a question of construction of the meaning of our expenses and protection policy that existed last year. It's not a challenge to the competence of our Director Corporate. It's a matter that's, I think, quite important because one day someone will die on the job or be hit again on the head with a shovel and they want to be able to make a claim.
All right, Councillor Young, you've had quite the opportunity to have quite a lot of debate around this session. I'm now going to go to other councillors. Councillor Gregson, then Councillor Edwards.
Thank you. Just to clarify the situation, being councillors, basically directors of the board, at present we're covered by insurance, but are we being denied what the insurance company is covering us? Why don't we know who is covering us? Now, it could be this year, it could be what, it could be next year. So why not name the actual company who's covering us at this present time? There doesn't seem to be any sensible logic why we should not know this. Because
Sorry, Madam Mayor. Sorry, I don't think it's appropriate that we talk about the companies in this forum. It's given us a public forum. I'm very happy to provide you with them. It's not a secret. There's 3 companies that I will provide you with, and I'll provide you exactly with the cover that you are under in terms of their insurance. So happy to do that. It's not, it's just something we shouldn't really be talking about in this forum.
Councillor Edwards.
I just see a lot of these questions, workshop questions, not council meeting questions. But I do concur with Councillor. I know that Councillor Luck had trouble when he rammed his car. That was an issue at the time, wasn't it? And there was, as I understand, some bits of difficulties with the insurance. I'm not sure how it ended up. It wasn't my business, but I know there was issues. And the other thing where I can agree with Councillor Young is, like at home, as you all know, my internet, I can't get NBN. I have a download speed of between 1 and 2, which they helpfully tell me is very slow, which, well, thank you, yeah. So I've got to go to Starlink because I can't download an agenda. So that sort of stuff is, but I just take that as my own luck. Deal with it. And I think that's how we have to have a little bit of that about us. That's all, just a comment.
Did you want?
no.
Anything further? No, nothing further? Put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Councillor Young is against. The motion is carried. So, Councillor Gretchen, did you vote for?
Yes, I voted for it, with reluctance. Yeah.
Agenda item 9, there is no notices of motion. Agenda item 10 is a petition that was received during the community pop-up sessions. Addis Farm Road, there is a recommendation on page 40. Deputy Mayor.
I'll move that Council 1 receives the petition and writes to the petitioner advising them that their petition has been considered, and 2, advocates on behalf of the petitioner with State Growth Highway Road Controlling Authority for an investigation into possible safety improvements at the intersection with Harvey's Farm Road.
There is your seconder. Churchill, thank you. Deputy Mayor, do you wish to speak to it?
No.
No. Councillor Churchill, do you wish to speak?
Yeah, just by way of comment, I just wonder, they've given us all the reasons here why Harvey's Farm Road intersection is no worse than several others. But should we be trying to inform ourselves a little more broadly of where our issues are across the community, and perhaps being in areas that we are known to be that way, and also to take, wouldn't hurt to do and it may be being done, I don't know, but it wouldn't hurt us to audit our own transport risk areas, black spots, whatever intersections, whatever they are, if they are actually council roads. If that is or isn't done, I wouldn't know. But
I can make a couple of comments. So the first of all, just the petition, receiving the petition by any means, whether it was at a community connect session or a pop-up or by the mail, our usual process, and I think it's good practice, is to bring that to council, particularly one of this size. So that's the reason for this report. There's no argument that from a geometric design perspective, that's one hell of an ugly intersection. But as you
Very technical term, General Manager.
but as you correctly point out, there is it wouldn't be the only one in our municipality, both onto a state road or even our local road. So it's a very reasonable comment to make, that we should be looking at the whole road, the whole transport network in respect of risk and safety improvements. And I think we do that. We certainly do that through the director's portfolio. So we will just we will wait and see what State Growth say about this, but the reason it's on the agenda is purely because it was a petition.
That's what Queenie.
But I was going to make the same point, actually, or same suggestion, but I'm interested, the Black Spot funding program, how big is that? And how available is that? Because if it is big and it is available, why wouldn't we be asking them, along with this petition, to respond to our most 10, whatever?
Is that a question for Mr. Forge?
I can begin to answer it, Madam Mayor. I think Mr. Forge is going to say, without taking words out of my mouth, that the Black Spot program is the criteria around that is definitely governed by accidents and accident records. And so that is a important thing to bear in mind. I know it's reactive and retrospective, but the reality is, where there's a history of accidents or even near misses, if they're recorded properly, serious accidents in particular, where there's serious injury or worse still a fatality, that does stimulate action in terms of looking at road improvement.
So, but I'm asking,
by way of Black Spot. How much is there and how available is it? I don't know. I'll hand over to the director.
Mr. Forge, thank you.
They just not somewhat close. Program. The values Black Spot program theory, they've been increased for the next financial year. I don't recall the actual dollar values, but $2 million across the state. There is also a vulnerable road user program which runs alongside it.
And so you can either select, is it a black spot program, is it a vulnerable road user program? Indicate that we're successful in our application for vulnerable road user program. Mr. Ward, stage 2 of the Swanwick programs. Do we have a listing of all of the work? No, we don't. So at the moment, we have access, more or less, in consultation with state growth to consult on areas where on the statistics in any section of road that along with the certainly along the state highway. I was able to get even today some statistics for the last number of on Freycinet Drive. We don't have statistics for the whole area, so I can't just consult that and say, well, here's the 10 worst. And in this instance, this is not the worst. You know, Harvey's Farm Road is not the worst.
Yeah.
We can see from the information we've got that the Douglas Street intersection, which is 400 metres away, is worse, much worse. But that's not the perception of the driver. And when you look at that intersection, look at it, as we said, it's ugly. It's a terrible line. And ideally it would be. But similarly, the centre of Bicheno, around the bakery, terrible, for pedestrian access. And okay, you get hit in the car, you've got some protection. You get hit with a pedestrian, you have no protection. So there may be areas which are high traffic damage that are less problematic than pedestrian. So it would be good to put it as a program at some stage to investigate the whole road network, highest risk, and put them.
Thank you, Mr. Hodge. Just a second, Councillor Fraser. Councillor McLeany, you would be very familiar with an entrance and exit onto the Tasman Highway in Orford, Charles Street. And this council has been trying to have that looked at for the best part of 20 years that I know of. The sad reality is we haven't had enough accidents there. And that to me is that. That's I find that really frustrating that they need data around crashes and even fatalities before it can be looked at or before it's looked at in any depth. I really struggle with that concept.
Maybe Councillor McLean could oblige us with it.
Councillor Gregson.
I have two questions. In the petition, Mr. Leon Yates.
Please don't name anybody. I know that it's a public. I know that it is in the public agenda, Councillor Gregson, but please do not identify any individual in this discussion.
Right, I won't. I'll do. But there's the petitioner that signed the petition twice.
Is what? Sorry.
Signed the petition twice. Yes.
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, that's noted. Potentially, that's the case.
Yeah, right. Thank you. And also, I'd like to, through the Mayor, I'd like to direct my question with regard to Mr. Porch. The Black Spot program and the road vulnerable users road program, for want of a better word, is there a certain allocation of funds by municipality, or is it to the state of Tasmania? And I'm under the assumption that the Black Spots program is federally funded, but is it council by council, or is it state by state? How is it allocated?
Madam Mayor, the funding is allocated to the states from the federal government. When I say to the states, there are allocations per state. There are not allocations per municipality, and my understanding is that with the criteria that is provided, that the applications address that criteria and understand highest risk sites are the ones that are funded. So you may apply as it is, but not be successful.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments in relation to the petition?
I might just add, in agreeing with Councillor McQueen, it seems completely mad that we need to kill people before something happens.
Absolutely.
It's just lunacy, isn't it?
Thank you. Nothing further. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Unanimously. Agenda item 11.1 is questions on notice by councillors. I note that there are none in 11.2 is comments or statements by Councillor McQueen.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that with the Mayor and Councillor Churchill being absent, I represented the council at the emergency workers volunteer event, barbecue, up at Swansea. It was a really excellent event. The facility's fantastic, by the way, if anyone hasn't been there to see the Swansea emergency facility and how well organised and managed that seems to be. There were people from all of the emergency services there and from different parts of the municipality, so it was great that there's maybe 30 people turned up. The presentation then given by Speak Up, Stay Chatty was also really well received too. They were very grateful for the support the council gave them for that event, and it was great to attend.
Thank you for that feedback, Councillor McQueen, and thank you for attending. Very much appreciated. Deputy Mayor?
I just want to take the opportunity while we've perhaps got an audience and other councillors just to remind everyone that we've got our structure plans workshops on this weekend, and they're in for people at home. Obviously, it's on our agenda, but it's in Visionaux on Saturday morning from 9:30 to 11:30 at the hall. It's in Coles Bay on Saturday from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. at the hall. And in Swansea on Sunday, it is 9:30 to 11:30 in Swansea Town Hall. And Orford Triabunna on Sunday, 2 to 4 at Town Hall, Triabunna. If anyone has an interest that's listening in or watching our meeting today, it's your opportunity to say about the structure.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Questions or comments, Councillor Brixton?
Just as an addendum, through the Mayor, just as an addendum to the Deputy Mayor, do you have to book for those structure plan sessions? Because I read that.
To you, Madam Mayor, yes, it is preferable that you register, and there is a pre-register opportunity, Councillor, on the information that's been provided. It's also preferable that one completes the online survey because that gives you a really good background as to how the workshops going to run and be framed. I think that's it there, yes. And you can just scan that code. I can help you with this if you want, but it's really easy.
General Manager, can I just clarify something though? This feedback is for the elected. This is for community.
Yep.
Elected members don't do the survey.
Madam Mayor, elected members can do the survey, as can anyone, as a member of the community. But certainly this is reaching out. The consultants reaching out to the wider community. And from an elected member perspective, I don't think I certainly wouldn't expect you to be at every session that's not in your town. But certainly through your networks, if you can get the message out, that'll be great. ERA have said as of this morning that the take-up has been quite low, both in terms of the online survey and registering for the workshop. So it'll be nice to try and turn that around in the few days we have left. Mm-hmm. This is an extremely important piece of work. This sets the scene, not so much for us, but for the ones that are going to follow on after us in terms of how our community is going to look and grow.
Just through the Yeah. With the QR code, that only directs you to the website. So what is the website?
So through you, Madam Mayor, all the information that's on that sheet of paper there is on the website. So
And Councillor Gregson, I believe the General Manager did send out.
Yes.
So you just need to click on those links and it provides you.
Yeah, I'm just conveying that to the people who might be viewing this session. That's all. I've just two matters that have been brought up by constituents, and this is both to do with Swansea. The fencing of playgrounds around playground equipment. One at Jubilee Beach in the centre of Swansea, and one at Duck Park. There's particular concern amongst mothers and have children, and they've got a number of children. They seem to fly everywhere, and they would like some form of containment, being so close to water. If the children are unfamiliar with the water, how to swim, etc., they would like that area around the play equipment to be fenced. And I'd just like to put that forward as a suggestion to council, future expenditure. And number two, there's particular concern is that Morris's store having a concentration of people gathering because it's the only IGA in town now, and you've got a lot of traffic going through, and you've got an increase of people shopping in that area. Would the council lobby state growth for in that particular area a speed limit of 40 k's? There's been a lot of near misses that I've been hearing, and it's only a matter of time until someone is here. So due to the increase in the traffic volume going to the IGA and people coming through, will the council advocate for a 40k in that area to slow it down?
Extension of the 40k zone from the school.
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor, we can certainly make some inquiries in that regard. I don't want to sound like I'm fobbing off that sort of suggestion, but there's two things that happen with that congestion. Congestion by its nature slows traffic down. Whereas if you've got more of a free open road, the traffic tends to travel quicker. The other thing is the signage and a change does not necessarily mitigate what I think you're trying to achieve there in terms of safety. But in saying that, we will ask the question of road controlling authority.
Just a lot of elderly people are going there, and they're not moving very fast, mind you.
Yeah.
And a few people going through that area, not at a slow speed, not taking into account that area, if you know what I mean. And it's been a few near misses.
Councillor Gregson, elderly people can't move quickly.
That's exactly right. Exactly. Yeah.
Thank you, councillors.
Taken on board, councillor, through Madam Mayor, and we'll make contact with the road control.
Any questions or statements, Councillor Ward?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Madam Mayor. The old chestnut. So we got notification in the mail here a couple of months ago with regards to the Orford Sewage Network upgrade. And I did bring this up at a workshop, but of course they're not publicised. But I just wanted to point out, and this is in inverted commas, Orford's existing sewage network was designed and built decades ago for a much smaller house. Nowadays, the network will often overflow as stormwater into the sewage system. I know this is talking about sewage, but I'm actually talking about water. You know, they can say that about the sewage system, and they are just turning a deaf ear to all and sundry. It doesn't matter whether it's from Morgan Spring Bay, Sorrel, whichever council area it is that need water upgrade, water infrastructure upgrades. And I just going to keep banging on about it. I'm sorry and it's going to drive you all crazy. Again, I'm sorry, but now that you're on the water board, and I know Councillor Edwards battled on about it as well, I just think we need to be a pain in their proverbial, because they've opened this can of worms by stating that. They stated that, just a minute, it's my turn.
That's like you keep going.
Yes. You know, this was designed and built decades ago for a much smaller town.
Agreed.
All our communities have grown.
They have.
And they've opened that can of worms for me. Thank you very much, Taswater. But other than that, also wanted to let councillors know that I've been hassled again for the winter swim. What is it called, Mr. Paul? The solstice swim, and to get all councillors to participate.
I think I'm with Councillor Young that it should be called the Madness Swim.
Well, it is a madness.
But I
swim.
do-
It's very liberating.
Good.
I just think
I'd be happy to donate to you, Councillor Wood. Excuse me, Councillor Gregson, please. Councillor, this is not a debate session. Councillor Young.
Madam Mayor, I'd just like to say something in support of Councillor Woods about the problem with sewage and not being an adequate capacity. I've had a complaint made to me that there has been sewage overflow into Shelley Beach area.
Any further questions or comments or statements from councillors at agenda item 11?
I would just make comments in fairness to them, and I hate to say in fairness to them, they are making movements to make the sewage better, whereas they're making no movements at all to make the water better.
Just through the mayor, can I make one last request from a constituent? People at Swansea are very impressed by the new footpath going along Morris Store. They're very pleased with that. But on the western side between Morris and Gwen Bryant or the tavern, it's still gravel, and people are finding that very difficult, that area. And I'd just like to go through the matter to Mr. Porch. Is that due to be asphalted, that area between Morris and the tavern on the western side?
Through Madam Mayor, we have the design for it, as we have for a number of projects where the funds aren't adequate to do the whole job. So we hold on to those designs until we've identified funding to then carry on with both there and up the other end of the corner where the previous supermarket's closed are areas that are within the scope of the design. So we'll continue to look for opportunities for funding. Continue those work.
Thank you, Mr. Porch. General Manager, if you want to add something.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Mayor's given me permission to say something as a non-councillor. We'd just like to thank the Director, Peter Porch, for his acting General Manager role in my absence. I know Councillor Edwards is dying to say things that won't run any smoother, but I'm going to cut him off and say it myself. But I've heard that from a few. But no, thank you for that. And Peter, of course, has been supported by ably supported by the team here. So it's been a whole team contribution. And while I'm at it, I would like to thank Mr. James Bonner for his filling in for the Director of Planning and Development while he's away as well. That's all. Thank you.
If I just may, on behalf of Council, thank everybody for standing into the acting roles that you've undertaken in the last couple of weeks. And to Peter Porch, particularly the as acting General Manager, his support for me as the Mayor was above and beyond the call of duty, I think. So thank you, Mr. Porch. Confidential items is agenda item 12. In accordance with the requirements of the local government meeting procedures, as Mayor, I now declare the meeting closed to the public in order to discuss the following matters. Item 1, the minutes of the closed session of the ordinary council meeting held on the 23rd of April. There is a recommendation to move into closed session on page 44. From the Queenie.
I move that council moves into closed session at 40.
I think that course might be.
You work for the ABC. You work for the
At 3:20.
That was how
Is there a seconder? Is there a seconder? Deputy Mayor, thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? The motion is carried. Mrs. Kerr, you will confirm when the recording's been terminated, please.